In the remote edges of an arid wilderness, where the sun scorches the earth until even silence feels dry and sharp, there exists a creature that has carved order directly into its own scales. The California kingsnake, a black and white wanderer suspended between life and death, moves like a living contradiction, both calm and absolute, both delicate and dominant, defining the very outline of order in this untamed land. Tonight, follow me into forgotten rocky landscapes where time seems to have eroded everything except stillness, and listen to how this quiet monarch preserves a near-eternal sense of balance amid isolation. May this wild yet tranquil presence wash over your thoughts like a cooling shadow beneath the desert sun, gently carrying away the noise and tension of your day. Is there a way of living that transforms pure black and white into something both beautiful and intimidating, symbols that feel almost mythological in their simplicity? The life of the California kingsnake is an ultimate expression of order itself. It moves without urgency, weaving its perfect geometric patterns into the folds and fractures of a harsh wilderness. In an era where everyone seeks validation and recognition, the silent presence of the kingsnake reflects a kind of absolute strength that many quietly long for but rarely attain. Dim the lights. Let this cold yet elegant wilderness flow slowly into your dreams, dissolving every layer of pretense you have worn throughout the day. When all life in the desert struggles to survive under relentless heat and scarcity, there is one creature that chooses to exist at the boundary of light and shadow, becoming both observer and judge of this land. The black and white pattern of the kingsnake is not merely camouflage. It is a declaration of belief, an internal code carved into its very being. Tonight, we enter its world not to witness violence, but to understand how it maintains an almost obsessive sense of stability in a world defined by chaos and fluctuation. Let this restrained voice from the wild gently repair the scattered fragments of your attention, and guide you back toward a quieter, more centered version of yourself. Prologue. In a wilderness permanently baked by heat, where dust clings to the air and even the wind feels exhausted, there exists a creature that understands how to dismantle chaos through precision. The California kingsnake, with its sharply defined black and white body resembling the keys of an ancient instrument, slides across burning stone not as a simple reptile, but as a moving boundary of authority itself. Many struggle to understand why such a powerful predator would adopt a life so still, so controlled, and seemingly indifferent, even when confronting venomous rivals. Yet beneath this cold discipline lies a profound question about power, restraint, and survival. This is not a story of violence or destruction. It is the story of how the kingsnake turned survival into a long meditation on control, patience, and dominion. Over years of silent existence, it absorbs the texture of the land into its bones, the heat of rocks, the silence between winds, the rhythm of dust storms passing overhead. Tonight, we do not speak of venom or immunity. We speak of order. We speak of how a creature transforms a fractured landscape into a personal philosophy. As the world outside quiets and your breath begins to slow, step with me into this monochrome realm where black and white are not colors, but principles. Chapter 1. His name was Theron. In the vast stretch of desert wilderness, he was only one faint line among countless shifting patterns of stone and shadow. For Theron, survival was not about pursuit. It was about positioning, finding the precise curve of shade beneath fractured rock where heat and shadow could coexist without destruction. His bond with the land was silent, almost contractual. Between dry shrubs and cracked earth, he felt the slow pulse of something ancient, like the heartbeat of a forgotten world. He remembered a rare moment during a brutal dry season when the entire landscape seemed to fracture under the weight of heat. Vegetation collapsed into silence. Smaller reptiles fled into stone crevices in panic. Yet Theron remained still. His body pressed firmly against cool rock, every scale absorbing the minimal relief it could find. Eyes closed. Breath slowed. He allowed the desert to pass through him instead of resisting it. This was not endurance as suffering. It was refinement. In those moments, he learned to reduce his presence until he became nearly indistinguishable from the landscape itself. Over time, Theron realized something profound: those who struggle blindly against the wilderness are often consumed by it. But those who listen, truly listen, begin to see the hidden structure beneath chaos. He became neither victim nor aggressor. He became a reflection of the land's own rhythm, black and white, still yet alive, present yet almost invisible. Chapter 2. As Theron's presence deepened within the desert, a strange phenomenon emerged, what could only be described as monarch-like solitude. Tiny insects occasionally landed upon his patterned scales, mistaking him for stone. Dust drifted across his eyes. The wind sometimes piled sand along his body like forgotten time. Yet he did not react. He existed in a state so still it bordered on absence. The desert itself became his language. Rock formations, shifting heat currents, the faint movement of prey beneath stone, all of it replaced conversation, companionship, and conflict. During a prolonged dry season, Theron experienced a peculiar fatigue, not of suffering, but of clarity. A quiet understanding that life was not meant to be chased endlessly, but observed. He watched lizards dart across sunlit stone, competing violently for shelter and dominance. And for the first time, he felt something resembling compassion. Not superiority. Not detachment. But recognition. He understood then that the Kingsnake is not simply a hunter. It is a coordinate within chaos, a fixed point that reminds all motion that stillness is also power. Through this realization, Theron transformed his existence into something like a moving axis of black and white light across the desert. He became neither hero nor villain. He became a reference point for silence in a world overwhelmed by motion. Chapter 3. Time eventually softened even Theron. The sharp contrast of his black and white scales became weathered, less defined by youth and more shaped by endless exposure to sun and stone. His eyes, once alert to every tremor of the land, now carried a deeper, quieter distance. He no longer changed positions frequently. Instead, he chose the deepest cracks within the rock formations, places closest to the earth's hidden pulse and farthest from the violence of wind. There, he conserved what little energy remained, waiting not for prey, but for the fading warmth of stars reflected across stone. He had become something beyond survival. He had become part of the terrain itself. One cold, mist-laced dawn, Theron settled into the deepest silence he had ever known. Not to escape the cold, but to complete a cycle that had been unfolding since the beginning of his existence. There was no struggle. No resistance. Only release. His life aligned perfectly with the structure of the land, as if he had never been separate from it at all. The desert did not react. It simply continued breathing. Wind passed through dry grass. Stones remained unmoved. The world carried on without disruption. And yet something had changed. Theron had become embedded within the memory of the land itself. Epilogue. As the final light of day vanished beyond the horizon, the wilderness returned to its ancient silence. Theron's story sank into the earth like dust settling after a long storm. The story of the California Kingsnake is not about dominance or fear. It is about the right to remain centered in a world that constantly demands movement. Whenever life feels overwhelming, remember Theron. Remember the black and white shadow that moved without haste across burning stone. He did not fight the world. He aligned with it. And in that alignment, he discovered something stronger than conflict, stillness shaped like authority. Like a monochrome line drawn across the desert, it remains even when everything else fades. Tonight, let this image stay with you. Let it guide you into sleep like a distant wind passing over silent rock. And may you wake with the quiet strength of something unshakable within you. Rest now. The world has slowed. And so have you.